Hey, what's up guys, Bajheera here. For this video, we're going to be taking a look at a new game from NCSoft called Master X Master, or MXM for short. Now, MXM has a variety of different game modes, including PvE, 3v3 arena, and the one we'll be focusing on this video, which is the 5v5 MOBA style gameplay. So no matter which game type you're playing for MXM, you're always going to start off by picking two different masters to control. Each master has two active abilities that you can choose, an ultimate, a passive of sorts, and their own unique mobility cooldown that you can use to either avoid attacks or initiate combat. Once you've chosen your masters, selected the abilities that you want to use, and augmented their basic attack to fit your playstyle, you're ready to throw down in the Titan Ruins. So what I'd like to do here is walk you through a game that I played and show you some of the most important aspects of the Titan Ruins map and some fun plays as well. So the Titan Ruins map type is a 5v5 style map that in a lot of ways fits into the MOBA genre, but brings a lot of new things to the table as well. For example, the 30-minute time limit ensures that games don't go overly long, as well as the point system, which affects not only the ebb and flow of the game during it, but also represents a win condition at the end of those 30 minutes. So one of the first things you saw me do was capture the Titan's Sight Watchtower, which grants a huge radius of vision on the map, as well as securing 3 points for your team. Now, your bottom lane does feature a Titan sight that's closer to you, but it's not uncommon for your opponents to push up and battle you right off the bat for that Titan sight, so be aware of that as well. Another very important in-lane map objective are Ruark and Adaman's altars. These altars will become available about 2 minutes into the game and represent a huge amount of early pushing power if you're able to secure these altars. Now, how that works is you must defeat the two altar watchers who are guarding the altar, and then you must capture the altar afterwards. So this is going to be a big reason why you're going to want to establish lane dominance early on and probably even get some support from your teammates, not only to help you defeat the altar watchers, but actually keep everyone away from the altar while one of your teammates has to stand there and capture it. Any damage will interrupt this channel. But if you are able to defeat the watchers and channel the capture of the altar, you are nearly guaranteed the first tower in your lane. The amount of pressure Ruark and Alderman put on the lanes is immense. A lot of times the enemy will try to reinforce their towers, which will allow you to either defeat them or at least move on to other objectives on the map while they deal with the huge pushing power of Ruark and Alderman. Now, with your first main lane push complete, it's a good time to go back to base and power up a little bit. So in this alpha, they introduced a new thing where you're able to actually put in points and improve different attributes of your character. You'll also notice that as you level up, you'll get skill points to use. And improving different skills in your character has a variety of results. Sometimes simply buffing damage is strong enough, but a lot of times you'll see increased stun effects. You know, maybe you stun more opponents, things like that. So keeping an eye on what the actual improvements on your abilities do could have a big effect on how effective you are in battle moving forward. So what you're seeing us do here is we're defeating some ritualists that spawn in the middle of the map that, once defeated, give you a hefty boost in experience to either help you secure a lead or maybe get back into the game if you're struggling. We then transition from the middle of the map back into the lane where we catch our opponents a little bit off guard. Now, this comes as no surprise to MOBA players, but a lot of times it is a good idea to stick together as a team. Not only are you more powerful in defeating map objectives, but if you're ever able to catch your opponents off guard a little bit out of position, you can make quick work of them and then try to secure other map objectives. Now, I've shown you a few different mobs that spawn on the map. This one is probably my least favorite of all. He is a rascal. Here you see him knock me off of his platform, hit me again, and nearly kill me. If that fish right there would have bit me, that would have been the end of it. Speaking of which, that fish is extremely annoying as well. If you walk through the river, you risk the chance of him latching onto you and taking a sizable chunk of your health. But if you are able to defeat him, he sometimes drops a Titan shard. And now Titan shards are what are used to become a Titan incarnate once you reach enough of them, which is a huge team cooldown that you definitely want to make smart use of. A well-used Titan can turn the tide of a game, but a poorly used one can be the throw that costs you the game. Some examples of good times to use your Titan incarnate is either when you're making a super strong push of your own and you want to clear out the enemy team to secure the win. You can go Titan incarnate and get a whole team kill. As long as if they don't run away from you enough, I've seen teams just fall before the might of a Titan incarnate. Similarly, if you need to defend it, the enemy team is pushing on you and you have to have a last-ditch desperation Titan incarnation to turn the tide of battle. Basically, once again, it's one of those things that can absolutely change the game. And so finding Titan shards and securing them for your team, turning them in back at your base, is a huge thing to do to give your team one more big ability to have in your back pocket. So I know we've been talking a lot about map objectives, different creatures to slay, but one of my favorite things about MXM is how fast-paced and volatile the player versus player interaction is as well. Obviously, in a game like this, battling the enemy team is going to be a huge component of it, but with MXM, since there's not a big focus on farming, you can expect to fight a lot. And since you can swap between two different characters in MXM, essentially having two sets of, damaging CC abilities in addition to health bars, the combat is very, very bursty and very, very fast-paced, which makes for some pretty intense but also really fun fights, both on a big team scale as well as in lane. So, speaking of team scale battles, we talked about a lot of different map objectives. This one is the granddaddy of them all, the Chamber Guardian. Now, there are different Chamber Guardians that will spawn, but they all follow a very similar pattern of being huge health, huge damage, very difficult to defeat monsters that once again represent a chance for your team to take a stunning victory or a crushing defeat. Defeating the Chamber Guardian gives your team 75 points, which is a huge chunk towards victory on all 3 win conditions. It puts you close to that 1,000 points, which is an instant victory. It puts you way above your opponent if the game goes a full duration of 30 minutes. And perhaps most important of all, puts you closer to spawning a Titan that will charge down the mid lane of Titan Ruins, because every 100 points spawns a Titan for you. So that instantly gives you a Titan to run down the mid lane and begin wreaking havoc on your opponent's base. Now, as we return to the game that we've been watching, we see the enemy team is able to sneak the Chamber Guardian right out from under our noses. However, we are able to catch them on their escape route and nearly wipe their team. So even though they got a pretty good amount of points, they got a Titan spawning, this is a huge momentum shift for the game for us. Wiping them off the map gives us not only a fair amount of points, it gives us the freedom to defend against their Titan push without having to worry about them taking other objectives, and gives us a lot of experience to take on to the next battles. Fortunately for us, since we just ticked over 200 points, we had a Titan that spawned as well. So our Titans are currently just battling it out in the map, and since we killed so many of the enemy team earlier in the fight, we're able to basically take out their Titan uncontested. Now, obviously, there are tons of strategies available to you at MXM, and I'm really excited to see more develop as the game progresses through the alpha and beta stages. But one of the main things that I've seen in terms of using your Titan offensively is either mobilizing a huge push behind your Titan to try to do as much damage as possible, or allow your Titan to do its thing, basically maybe send 1 or 2 of your teammates along with the Titan to try to support it a little bit, and then work on other map objectives, either pushing different lanes, securing sight for your team, maybe even going for the Chamber Guardian, things like that. The Titans, similarly to where I mentioned earlier with Ruark and Alderman, represent a huge increase in pressure down the mid lane, and is going to require the enemy team to make the adjustment to deal with it. For example, our team has 3 people supporting the Titan. One of our teammates is able to go back, recover some health, take a brief moment to boost their attributes, and recover before the next battles begin. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, one of our teammates is keeping the enemy team busy, so they're not able to push the bot lane quite as significantly as they'd prefer. While all this is happening, you've seen that we've busted through both of the towers initially defending the mid lane with our Titan. So even though we're still down by a little bit in points and even lost the Chamber Guardian, we've actually made a huge momentum shift where we've been able to destroy 2 of their main towers, guarding the front of their base. As you know, we captured the altar earlier in the game, which basically secured us the first tower in the bot lane. And now that they're recovering from the push that we've put on the mid lane, we're able to drop back and take out this altar as well, once again keeping the pressure on as much as possible. Knowing the spawns and keeping an eye on the spawns of Ruark and Alderman's tower, as well as other map objectives, is going to be huge to forcing the pressure that you need. So a lot of times you're going to have huge team fights for these altars since they are such a big part of the game, But if you can make good use of your Titans and your team's map positioning in terms of applying pressure, sometimes you can sneak them for free like I just did there. And as I'm getting points from defeating Altar Watchers and clearing these waves of creeps, just as the enemy team is recovering from our push mid and trying to make an offensive push of their own, we spawn another Titan. And you can see some of the enemy team is down in bot lane trying to secure Alderman's altar, which means that me and Ruark get to do some serious damage to their first tier towers and beyond. They send one guy to defend, but it's going to take a little bit more than one dude to try to defend against me and Ruark. I'm able to do a ton of damage to this guy, force his swap, and have him starting to play defensively, running back towards his mid-level defense. Now, as great as killing this guy would be, my main objective here is to stall, keep him away from Ruark, and keep him from killing our creep wave that's spawning in and building immense pressure on their top lane second tier tower. What's going to happen here is they're either going to have to peel off of their efforts to secure the bot lane altar, or they're going to have to stop their push in mid, and that's what ends up happening. I'm able to get people to peel away from the mid push to try and stop this top lane aggression. Fortunately for me, the enemy players decide to try and attack me instead of dealing with Ruark, which is going to allow me to put a lot of pressure on them and allow Ruark to keep doing his thing on these towers. Not only does destroying these towers remove a layer of defense to their base, it also gives you a good amount of points. So by distracting and by pushing, we're getting a lot of work done. And keep in mind, my team has had the freedom and the numbers advantage to keep them from capturing the altar in bot lane still. Now, you just saw me narrowly escape a very angry Titan Incarnate on the enemy team who decided to, instead of killing me, go for our Titan who's pushing mid lane. And don't look now, we've taken a point lead. On my way back to base, I decided to take out another one of these Wardens just to pad a little bit of our experience and just be efficient with my time. These guys don't give you a ton of points in terms of a Titan, but I think the experience that it gives, once again, either allows you to catch up if you're a little bit behind in experience, or keep that experience lead going if you're fortunate enough to be ahead. So I'm going to head back to base, get some attributes going because I have a couple of them to use. Got 6 attribute points each, and for these characters, I like to go crazy and just go full weapon damage. I'm kind of tanky, just naturally because I'm playing bruiser characters who are my favorite ones to play. Big surprise there. But the added weapon damage, especially when you pair it with Cognazzo's ult, does so much damage to squishy or assassin type characters. Keep in mind, though, that different games will require you to have different attribute point selections, and you're able to reset them anytime you want whenever you go back to base. So if you're finding, you know what, the extra damage that I'm trying to get isn't really working for me, my team needs something a little bit tankier, you can add your defense, you can add some health to your character. If you're feeling like within the battles are really intense and you're going to actually need some more in-combat ability, then you can go with, you know, cooldown reduction or increased mana if you really are spamming a lot of abilities, that sort of thing. So you have a lot of different options, and different characters will have different options as well. So what you're seeing here, guys, is all of our efforts to apply pressure to knock down their towers in every lane have worked out great. We've done a really good job securing the altars in the side lanes, constantly putting on pressure. Even though we lost the Chamber Guardian, we were able to capitalize on them trying to run out of there instead of just pressing back and going immediately home to recover and build on their lead. So there are a lot of points in this game where the pressure wasn't really in our favor, but we were able to swing it with good positioning and good tactical movement, which is one of those things that you're going to find. Every game of MXM is different, but they're all a whole lot of fun. So huge thanks to MXM for sponsoring this video once again. I had a ton of fun kicking butt in the alpha. A lot of fun making this video for you guys, and I'm looking forward to playing more in the future. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to show up some love if you did, and I will see you guys next time. Peace!